All right, ladies and gentlemen, I am Mike, and it is time for the Too Many Guys Soccer Show Champions League Final Appendix. The Champions League Final is very useful. An appendix is not. Make of that what you may. I am joined by my good friend, Bayern Rob. He does not have a team in this final, but he's happily celebrating his six.
Most, look, is that our campaign? But six is a good number. And I still have a medal, so it's okay.
And I am joined by Professor Matt, who will hope that his Liverpool Reds win their seventh and break that tie with Bayern Munich as either the second or third, depending on how many AC Milan has won at this point in time. Most successful team in all of Europe. Matt, how you doing this evening?
Doing well, Mike. Yourself?
I'm doing fine. I noticed that you are not wearing a Liverpool jersey for this show. Which one is it? It looks like Dynamo. Is that Dynamo Kiev?
Kiev, yeah.
All right. So we're going to represent Dynamo Kiev. At some point in time, we do need to record an episode where we go through what the various team names mean. So we can explain what Dynamo versus CSKA versus Spartak versus AC versus Internacional versus United versus Albion all mean to all the soccer neophytes who don't know what we're talking about. But what has brought us here today and what is most important is Saturday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. My math tells me that's 2000 Greenwich Mean Time. The UEFA Champions League final. Liverpool goes into the Parc des Princes in Paris, looking for their seventh Champions Big Year Trophy. European Cup. Real Madrid, by far the record winners of this trophy, looking for their 14th.
One small correction. It's not a Parc des Princes. It's a Stade de France. Yeah.
Stade de France. I had a 50-50 shot of getting that right, and apparently I chose the wrong one. So Stade de France, not Parc des Princes. Yes, so the Stade de France in Paris, the home ground of the French national team, will be hosting this year's iteration of the biggest game. I had this whole entire spiel about Memorial Day being the beginning of American summer and the official end of the professional soccer season, and then I realized that it doesn't actually end on Saturday because there's a game on Sunday. Not that it's a European game, but I'm sure Chelsea Mike would be mad at me if I ignored the importance of the Premier League playoff game that will be contested on Sunday in Wembley. But this is the one that we all care about, the Champions League final. Gentlemen, this matches up two totally different teams, two of the most successful teams in Europe, but two of them who come in off of completely different seasons and completely different campaigns. Liverpool, if you look, the betting line will enter as finalists or as favorites, and well, they should. They come in having won 2 domestic trophies in England, the League Cup and the FA Cup, narrowly missing out on the Premier League title. I don't think, Matt, that they have lost since Methuselah was a kid.
Yeah, 18 in a row, undefeated. So we're going in with, and we'll talk about that, some slight injury concerns, but also in really outstanding form.
On the other hand, Real Madrid, it has been a bit of an up and down season. They have been the cardiac kids of the UCL, having to come behind to beat PSG, having come from behind to beat Chelsea, and having had to come from behind to beat Man City, all on their road to get here. There's a little bit of an air of destiny to them. They don't have the best team that we've seen Real Madrid have, but they have a team that just seems to work well together. Wouldn't have picked them at the beginning of the season, at the beginning of this campaign, especially after they lost to a team that has the same name as an elected office. We all remember Real Madrid losing at home to Sheriff Tiraspol early in the group stages, but to come back and now make it into the Champions League final. Rob, I got to say, it has been a hell of a campaign for Real Madrid.
You know, when the Sheriff game happened, we all thought that this was the end of, like, you know, the Galacticos era was over. Benzema was on its way down, and like the cockroach and after nuclear war, they survived, and in fact they got even stronger. You know, Benzema just took the whole team on his back. Vinicius Jr. has some quality games. You know, Luka Modric found the fountain of youth a few times, and they're here, and that's all they needed. And they didn't have easy matches. You know, like in the knockouts, they went through a gauntlet of quality teams, and they've earned the right to be here. And so they've done. You know, they gave everybody a heart attack on their way here. If you're a Madrista, right? But here they are. They're here, and the core of the team is battle tested. You know, they've been through everything, not only on club level but on international level. So they're going to sleep really good Friday night and wake up very peacefully Saturday morning, and none of this anxiety. And on the other side, it'll be Liverpool, because a lot of those people were there as well for two finals. So they're you know, this is going to be a great matchup. I'm looking forward to it.
I told y'all we weren't going to get into a position by position or a position group by position group thing. We will talk about the managers, right? This is a great managerial matchup. Two of the best managers in Europe right now. Klopp may be one of the best in Europe. Ancelotti has the bona fides to prove how good he is at this. Neither one of them is going to be overawed by the situation. This is Klopp's third. He did one with Bayern and two with Liverpool, so it's his fourth. Yeah. And this is Ancelotti's 9,097th. Both of them know the occasion. Both of them will have their teams prepared well. Matt, what do you think of the matchup in between Klopp and Ancelotti? And I don't actually believe they've managed against each other.
I'd have to go back, but I don't recall them ever facing each other. And, you know, because Klopp was out of Dortmund by the time Ancelotti got to Bayern.
Yeah. They may have at one point in the Champions League, but I don't think Ancelotti was not the manager of the Real Madrid team that faced.
I have the stats. Okay.
Oh.
They managed against each other in 10 games.
Oh.
Ancelotti has won 4. Klopp has won 3. There's been 3 draws. Ancelotti's team has scored 11 goals, and Klopp's team has scored 7.
This must have been when.
Oh, well, Ancelotti was at Everton too, so that's a.
Oh yes, I forgot about that.
Yeah, well, look, the biggest change, Ancelotti, you know, we thought he was done too. for a while. We thought like, he's had to, he needs to like go to Everton to reclaim his throne. And they were kind of like, whatever, right? And all of a sudden, Perez called him on the phone and says, "I need you." And then Ancelotti goes, "Fine, I'll come back. I'll come back to the Merengues. Let's go." And here he is. He's in the final. It's crazy.
Having won the league and becoming the only manager to ever win in each of the top 5 leagues in Europe. His stint at Real this time puts into perspective just how undermanned and dysfunctional Everton was, because it shows like he can really manage a team of players when he's got the right group of players to manage. They are slightly different. Ancelotti is a player's manager. He's going to go in there. You give him a group of great players, he's going to probably get them to an even better place. Klopp, he gets the most out of who he has, right? There are great players on Liverpool. We would say Mo Salah, Sadio Mane, Virgil van Dijk, all world-class players, some of the best at their position. But when they got to Klopp, I don't know if they were in that position. The same with some of the guys that he had at Borussia Dortmund, Rob. I don't know that the likes of Neven Subotic and Mats Hummels and Marco Reus and, young Robert Lewandowski and Mario Götze and Sinjay Kagawa were considered world beaters, world-class players before Klopp got their hands on it.
No.
But he has this ability to get better out of players. Not necessarily a player's manager insofar as Ancelotti is go out, be who you are, do what you do. But Klopp has a defined system. He knows how he wants to play. He's adapted it over the years. He comes in and in a lot of ways, Matt, this Liverpool team are the full iteration of what he always wanted his teams to be. So, Matt, I'm going to give you Jurgen Klopp. What do you think of your manager?
I think he's the best in Europe at this moment. I think he is, in a sense, a player's manager. Not in so much, I like how you sort of caveated that, not in so much that it's just like, okay, you do this well, you do that. He's a system merchant. But he gets players to buy that fit the system and can buy into the system and can thrive in it. It's not just making guys better, it's finding the right pieces for what you're going to do. I'll be totally honest. Bobby Firmino, without Jurgen Klopp, is just kind of a dude. He's this guy who, is he a 10? Is he a 9? Klopp's taken this guy from Hoffenheim, who looked good but wasn't necessarily great, and it has turned him into a very effective. He's not a false 9. He's a holding striker. In terms of the managerial battle, I think it's dead even. I really do. If we're going, who has the edge, I think that's chalk, man. I really do. Because look, Ancelotti, we know who this guy is. And the fact that he's gotten this particular Real Madrid team this far is a testament to how good he is. Because I'll be honest, this team isn't that great. It's flawed, and we'll talk a little bit about those flaws.
Rob, you've had experience with Carlo Ancelotti at Bayern. You know what type of manager he is. He comes in, he gets a group of guys who may be great world beaters and somehow gets them to reach an extra gear.
Yeah, and Carlo Ancelotti is one of those people who doesn't. You're not going to see him like going crazy on the sideline. He doesn't even go crazy, in training. He's a steady hand. He's a very knowledgeable person. He puts the players in a good position, and then he's like, "I trust you. You can do this. You have the talent. Go out there and do it." And for players who like that freedom to express themselves on the football pitch, he's a perfect manager for it. And this is what he has. No matter what's going on, in the locker room or in the league table, he's always the same way. He's very calm demeanor. You're never going to see someone who's agitated. And so when you're calm and you're relaxed, you play better. And he lets the talent out there just do its thing. He gets them into position and then simply says, go on, my beautiful, butterfly. Just do what I know you can do. And sometimes those just small words of inspiration are enough. And he's proven it. Like, after the Sheriff game, he could have just totally revamped the whole squad. Somebody like who's more of an agitated personality could have just said, no, they're totally shifting. This is terrible. No, he's been a steady hand to just massage his way back into form, and here he is. Benzema's just doing what he does. The midfield is doing what they do. Alaba, who's new here, he's doing what he knows how to do, and that's all that Carlo expects of you. He knows what you can do. Just do it and go out and have the freedom to do it. Not too much instruction, not too much, orders. Play your game, and it'll just work itself out. And he's done it. He's done it constantly, and here he is again.
So let's talk about the teams that will actually be on the pitch. Both teams kind of put out their rosters today. Real Madrid comes in. David Alaba has a bit of a niggle, but we expect that he's going to be healthy. I guess the big surprise for Real Madrid is Gareth Bale was included in the traveling party for the Champions League final. Now, whether or not he actually sees the pitch or even makes the bench is up for debate, but he was included in the traveling party for this game. Liverpool comes in with basically the same squad on paper that they've been playing with, no noticeable absentees as far as guys that weren't included in the squad traveling. Thiago Alcantara was injury worry. Fabinho, we expect to recover. We saw Virgil van Dijk go off in the Champions League final along with Mo Salah. Both of them were back for the weekend. They come in, Matt, with much heavier legs. So I'll start with this. Any surprises from the team news? Any updates? Anything that we should be concerned about with either team outside of what I just reported? Rob, anything you got?
I'm a little bit concerned about Alaba. I think he'll play, but they need him. I think he's a defensive stalwart and who could play, both in an attacking role as a left back, and also how he's been playing mostly has been a center back the last couple of seasons. They really need his offensive ability and also his calm with the ball, because and Alaba has seen pressing teams before. He's seen Klopp teams, and if I know Klopp, that he's going to press the midfield, he's going to press the center backs, and you need someone who's good with the ball, like Alaba, to kind of like diffuse the situation. Gareth Bale I would not be shocked if Gareth Bale makes the bench, or because it's a Carlo thing to do for Gareth Bale to come back, come off the bench in the 75th minute and put in a good shift. It would not shock me in the least. Because we forget Gareth Bale scored goals in Champions League finals.
I don't forget.
Yeah, I know. The professor don't forget. But some people forget. The guy can't speak Spanish, but he can score goals, beautiful goals, mind you.
He just hasn't done it at all for Real this year, and a couple of times where they wanted him to come on and play, he's opted not to do it.
Yeah, but it would have shocked me. I'm telling you, it would not shock me in the least if Gareth Bale books it. Now, I'm not saying he's going to score. I'm not saying he's going to put in an assist. I think he's going to put it. If he comes in, it would not shock me if he comes in and he puts in a good shift, a quality shift, a proper send off to Real. But yeah, they need Alaba healthy and playing well to really, diffuse the Liverpool's press.
Matt, Liverpool comes in off the back of 62 games, the most that would, I believe, the joint most that we've seen an English team play at this point in the season. It goes back to the 08-09 Manchester United team that made the quarters of the FA Cup, but also played in the Club World Cup and were the defending champions. So we go back to that. It's 62 games. That is a lot for club. When you consider that the likes of Joel Matip, Naby Keita, Mo Salah, Sadio Mane, also had to play African Cup of Nations. For some of these guys, they're up near 70 games already. We've seen the toll that it has taken on them. There have been some heavy legs. Thiago, most injury doubt with the hamstring. Fabinho, bit of an injury worry, rush to make it to fitness. What are your injury concerns with the squad as it is? Any surprises, anything that you need to talk about as far as the team that will be there, or the personnel that will actually be in France on Saturday?
No major surprises. Fabinho is fit. He's gotten in a full week of practice. Van Dijk and Salah were healthy enough to make the bench. Salah even came on and actually looked pretty good in the 25 minutes he played over the weekend. Dude, the Thiago injury is a concern. He practiced today, limited, but he did practice. Klopp says he should be good to feature. What that means, I don't know. I have a feeling he's probably not going to start, but he'll make the bench and bring him on if we need a goal, or bring him on if we need to control the midfield, because I think that's probably where this thing's going to be won and lost. But I wouldn't be shocked if, we see a midfield of Fabinho, Henderson, and Keita. There's also a possibility that Klopp thinks slightly outside the box here and switches formations. And maybe we see a 4-2-3-1 with Fabinho, Henderson as the pivots, and maybe a Bobby Firmino at the 10. But we'll see. I think Thiago plays. I personally wouldn't start him. I'd go with Keita and then bring him on sometime in the second half if and when needed. But we'll see. He's going to be. It's a weird conundrum because it's not a hamstring. There's Achilles issues. You don't want to risk further injuring him and screwing it up at the beginning of next season. At the same time, this is exactly the game that we bought him to be. That's why we bought him this game. So it's really going to be tough. The fact that he did get in a day of practice today is incredible.
I feel like Matt just. Oh no, Matt's back.
He said it was encouraging. They get a we can practice him.
So as far as starting lineups go, Rob, Real Madrid's lineup, we have really good feeling what that's going to look like. Courtois at the back, Carvajal, Militao, Alaba, if he's healthy, Mendy, and then Casemiro, Cruz, and Modric in the midfield, Fede, Valverde, Benzema, and Vinicius Jr. Valverde maybe drops for Rodrigo, but outside of that, it's pretty settled as to how they're going to show up.
Yeah, no, that's exactly how I would shift it. I think you're gonna. I think Camavinga will get minutes here, because I think there's gonna be some tired legs in the midfield, and so he's gonna have to come in for somebody, whether it be Cruz or Modric. One of those will be one of the first to come off, because I think especially Thiago starts. If Thiago starts, they're gonna ping the ball around the midfield, and they're gonna make Cruz and Modric chase it all over the place, and that's gonna get very tiring for people, for gents of their age, this point in their career. So you're gonna need a defensive shift there, somebody a little bit more offensive. But pretty much that's the lineup. You hit the nail on the head. That's exactly how we'll line up for Real. And just hope your veterans, can do some damage.
Matt, I can get a little bit more doubtful for Liverpool. They'll probably play the 4-3-3, 4-2-3-1, depending on what you want to call the starting position of a certain couple of players. The defense is pretty settled. Alisson and goal, Alexander-Arnold on the right, Robertson on the left, Van Dijk and Joe Matip in the middle. The midfield we talked about, if Alcantara can go, he probably starts. If not, then there's some issues. And then especially that tridente, the front three, that's where it starts to get very interesting. But then, he could pull a trick if he being Klopp could pull a trick if Alcantara, Thiago's not, and start both Bobby Firmino and Diogo Jota. What do you think he's going to do?
If he sticks with the 4-3-3, I think the front three is Mane down the middle, Salah wide right, Diaz wide left. Like I said, there is a possibility that we could see almost a front four with Firmino as a traditional number 10. But I think if this was last year, I'd say that would probably be the case. I think Naby Keita has some clout. He has money in the bank now. There's a level of trust. But, even this season, we've seen at times, and this is Rob hit the nail on the head. Thiago, it's not just tiring out the likes of Kroos and Modric. The way that you deal with them, particularly now this version of Toni Kroos, is you press them. Naby can do that physically. There are times when he presses rather unintelligently, and that certainly could be a concern. I would start Diaz simply because if we've seen a weakness from this Real side during the Champions League run, it's on the flanks. And that kind of speed, that kind of ball control, I think that can give them problems. We saw it against PSG. We saw it in the first leg against City. I think you start the Colombian and have Mane down the middle.
So my only concern about starting Diaz is I think the moments that Diaz has had that have been gems, have been magnificent, have been when he's come off the bench. And So I almost would, if I was Liverpool, if I was Klopp, I would actually would save him for like somewhere in the 60th minute. Bring, see how Salah and Mane are doing, and whoever strikers up front, Firmino or Jota, um, and then pull one out, and then bring Diaz in there. I would work it that way, only because I think like he's been so good off the bench. I mean, and yeah, he can start. He had that quality, but I think you when you have like that rocket in a bottle on the bench, it's like it's a perfect weapon to use, especially when the game like this could go long. Um, so that's my only concern. Other than that, you're right. The Real Madrid fullbacks are not up and down fullbacks like we know. They're not going to give. They're not going to like assist. You know, Valverde or Vinicius Jr. Much. So yeah, the Real Madrid, fullbacks are really susceptible here, and you can definitely hit them there.
So we'll wait on whether or not it's if I had to do it, given what the information I have, I'd have Fabinho, Henderson, and Naby Keita in the Liverpool midfield. Matt's nodding his head to me, so I feel like he feels comfortable with that. Rob, of the Liverpool players, who is the one that you feel Real Madrid should most be on the lookout for?
I mean, look at it as like avoid or
most concerned about.
Oh man, can I pick two? Because I would pick Mane and Salah. Like honestly, like it's because it's so hard to really, because they're so far apart on the pitch, right? It's so hard to concentrate on both of them at the same time, and you sort of have to pick and choose, and sort of hope that the ball is where you're choosing to bring your attention to in that one possession. When the possession changes, you gotta switch it out. You gotta like move some people to the other side potentially. But Mane is just on another level, and he's made some talks. I don't know how serious he is, but when people ask him about his future, he's been a little bit coy with it. And so if he's planning a move, he's going to give it his all. But he's had a great season. So I would pick Mane just because he's so dynamic. But that does not don't think that takes away from what Mo Salah can do, because Mo Salah has a foot that can put the ball in the net from insane angles from anywhere, pretty much anywhere near the box, near the lines. So I would worry about them, and but also just from a Real Madrid strategy point of view, you better hope that Alexander Arnold and Robertson, let Vinicius Jr. ping balls into Benzema, because Benzema needs service. I know Benzema can do a lot of things, but if he has no service, you cut his effectiveness down. And Vinicius Jr. needs to have a good game here, because he's the one dynamic enough, along with Benzema up there, to cause trouble for for the fullbacks, especially if he shifts in and out depending where he goes. I mean, it's going to be on the left, but yeah, so Vinicius Jr. needs to do some work on Trent Alexander-Arnold here, and he's a catch Trent Alexander-Arnold trying to cheat up top as well. Because if the ball goes up there, Vinicius Jr. is by himself, and there's problems.
Matt, you're Jurgen Klopp. You're giving your team talk. Who's the player on Real Madrid you're most concerned about?
Bayern Robber and full simpatico here. Yeah, I wrote down in my notes, it's Vinicius, Vinicius, Vinicius. Trent is not nearly as bad a defender as his detractors make him out to be, but he's the obvious weak link. And look, the last time we played them in the quarterfinals last year, he got smoked. Now, granted, part of that was we had no functioning defensive midfielder, we had no center backs, but it was pretty obvious. It was attack Trent's side. If Trent at least can be, an 8.5 out of 10, I think we're okay. But yeah, looking at a clear weakness and a clear danger man, for us, it's Vinicius. Because if you can shut him down, you limit what Benzema can do. I'm not all that concerned with what's going to be coming down the other end. I think Robbo has that in check. But Trent is somewhat susceptible. And look, Vinicius is freaking good. Really freaking good.
All right, so I'm gonna flip it up on you a little bit. Rob,
Yep.
how should Liverpool attack Real Madrid?
Suffocate the midfield. Don't let Tony Cruz and Luka Modric with the ball with any amount of time. Because if you give them any time, they're gonna pick out beautiful ball over the top, and Benzema's gonna, pretty much hit it off the high volley. Don't let or find Vinicius Jr., cheating down the flank, and just creating damage, either by himself or with his crosses into the box. You got to suffocate, Cruz and Modric. They're up there in age. They played a lot of games this season. They're still magical, but you can't give them any amount of space to even think about a pass to any of the flanks or to Benzema, because if you do, it's game over. And that's the game they want. Real Madrid want a game where it's a slow-paced game, the ball's in the midfield, and Tony Cruz is using all his eyes and all over his head to find somebody. No, Klopp needs to press the midfield and force the ball out into the wings.
Matt, Real Madrid just gave you all the money you could ever want in the world to give a scouting report on Liverpool and tell you how to beat Klopp's team. What are you telling them?
If there is a lot of it will depend on Thiago, because again, we can suffocate that midfield with Naby Keita. How effective we can be in doing that is another question entirely. Modric and Cruz ate the poor Ghanaians' lunch last year, but again, he's improved. I think you can, like I said, I think they're susceptible on the flanks. I think we're susceptible on that right flank. I'm a big Alexander Arnold fan, but he's defensively he has some shortcomings. And look, Klopp loves this high line. Now we'll have Virgil back, and the high line looks a lot better with Van Dijk. But long balls, from the midfield to Benzema, hey, that is a legit worry. So I mean, it's exploiting our high line and also really, really exploiting the right side, because Robbo's fine. I don't worry about Robbo. Trent, yeah, he can be agitated. His lack of defense can be agitated in from time to time. Not gonna lie.
All right, Rob, Liverpool win if
they tire out Modric and Cruz. and they can do nothing with the ball. It's that's the key to me. That's their key to victory. If they can, if they're the ones that hold the ball in the midfield and don't let Real Madrid any possession in the midfield, then it's their game. They win somewhat comfortably.
All right, Matt, Liverpool win if.
I have to agree with Rob. If we can pretty much negate Cruz and Modric, and also we do what City failed to do and finish our dinner. When opportunities are put in front of us, we have to score because we're going to have chances in this one. It's a matter of putting this team to the sword because that is what City, Chelsea, and PSG have all failed to do.
Back to you, Matt. Real Madrid win if.
If Cruz and Modric have time on the ball, and if Liverpool, and this is a worry, this is a legit worry for me, if we start the match slow. The fatigue is starting to catch up, and the first 20 to 25 minutes of our last couple matches outside of the FA Cup have been wonky. If they catch that version of Liverpool particularly early, yeah, I think there can be some problems. Yeah.
All right, Rob. Real Madrid win
if Benzema and Vinicius Jr. just play like they've been doing all season. Because Benzema is like this wily veteran who flies under the radar, below, the Messis and the Ronaldos and even the Lewandowskis of the world. And Vinicius Jr. is this talent that we saw it coming, but it seems like from sometimes he just came out of nowhere. If they tag team a lot here, if Vinicius Jr. has time, and if Trent Alexander-Arnold cheats up a little bit in the press, and he messes up a couple times, then yeah, that's when Real Madrid win. You cannot give Vinicius Jr. any time with the ball on the wing and let him pick out a perfect ball to Karim Benzema, because Karim Benzema does not miss many chances in the box at all whatsoever. He has a clean shot. He's going to get in it. It's going to go in the back of the net, no matter how good Alisson is.
Liverpool win if they put this to bed early. If they score first and second and third and put the pressure on, keep that high press. If Robertson and Alexander-Arnold are able to play the majority of the game in the Real Madrid half, it portends very good things for Liverpool. Real Madrid win if this game is close, because there's one thing that we know about Real Madrid in this Champions League, maybe not the whole season, but the Champions League. If they are within striking distance after the 80th minute, it's either they're going to win or they're going to extra time. We saw that happen against PSG. We saw that happen against Chelsea. We saw that happen with 2 goals after the 90th minute against Manchester City. This is a team that just will not die. It reminds me of a line from, I believe it was Snatch. This person just doesn't know when they're dead. All right, predictions. Matt, give me your prediction and why.
I think this gets dusted in regulation. I think we squeak it out 3-2 in a classic. I think we actually do go up 2-0, as you were suggesting. and put the pressure on them. But I think they come back, but it's just a little too late, a bridge too far. Also, I think we score late to sort of kill it off. But yeah, 3-2.
Rob, what you got?
I have 3-1 Liverpool. Salah gets his revenge on Real Madrid. They're all determined. You know, the one thing about Klopp teams is that they could do all the winning in the world, but they're still motivated, all of them. And while the core stayed, they just keep adding pieces to it. And this year's piece, Luis Diaz, fantastic pickup. They went 3-1. I think the Real Madrid luck ship runs out here in the final.
I'm going to go and echo the 3-1 scoreline. I don't know how it comes, and here's where I'm going to hedge my bets. I can see this 3-1 happening two ways. 3-1, Liverpool goes up 2-0 in the 75th minute. Benzema pulls one back to make it 2-1, and Luis Diaz adds a late one to seal it. The other way I can see this happening is we play out a 0-0 through half. In the 50th minute, Sadio Mane knocks one in. In the 87th minute, Karim Benzema equalizes. But Liverpool puts 2 in extra time to seal it before it gets to penalties. I don't think that it's going to be a game that goes to penalties. I could potentially see it going for extra time, but I don't think it's much after that. But I do think, and I agree with both of you, that what would it be in Spanish, Rob? It's catorce?
Yeah, you know what? I'm not sure. You know,
I think it would be la catorce. If my Spanish, yeah, it would be catorce because 15 would be quince.
Okay.
Catorce,
yeah.
La catorce evades Real Madrid for a little bit, for another year. Liverpool is able to put themselves at 51% of the way there instead of 49. They win their 7th and become the team on 7 and the second most successful team in all of Europe.
And then Klopp will match Pep for Champions League trophies.
Yeah,
he'll have his second.
And in terms of our season overall, and I know we have the 2 domestic cups, I know we're having the parade. I think this is big in terms of, look, you win 2 domestic cups, that's a success. But if you don't do either this, and we've already failed to achieve the league, the season seems weird. It seems weirdly unfulfilling.
I think I agree with you on that. For Liverpool to have as good a season as they have had, to go through, to hold the quadruple for longer than any team ever has, to literally come within 20 minutes. If it wasn't for 3 goals in 5 minutes in the second half against Manchester City, Liverpool are on track to win the quintuple and make themselves probably one of the greatest teams arguably one of the greatest teams in English history, arguably one of the greatest teams in European history. The problem was that one was out of their hands. They didn't quite finish, so they won't have that. To bring this home with a Champions League gives this the fitting end to the team and gives them the credit that they deserve as one of the great teams in Liverpool history. This team deserves to have their name remembered. And what are the ways that you get remembered at Liverpool FC? You win a Champions League and the European Cup, or you win a league. Outside of that, nobody in 20 years is going to remember who you are. I think this would give them the end. Now, at the same time, given the turmoil, given everything that Real has gone through in the last 12 months, it'd be the most Real thing in the world for them to win this Champions League just out of nowhere. That would just be the most Real thing ever. And it is a team, given who they are, that you just can't count out. We arrive at an interesting point where I think it has been a good season for both teams. But I think both fan bases, for different reasons, can use this big-eared trophy for a variety of things. And look, the long and short of it is, one of them is going to walk off with it and one of them is going to not. The one that walks off with it, we're going to remember. The one who doesn't, maybe we cycle back around in 5-10 years and say, think of the season that they had that year. All right, parting shots, Rob. What you got for me?
I'm excited for this final, and for those of you who had to say you need to pick a side, no, you don't. Just enjoy it as a neutral. Watch, two managers who have done historic things two different ways, and that's the beauty of the game. The beauty of the game is that you can win titles, you can be successful doing it your way. So Klopp has his way, very passionate, very motivating, very, rock and roll pressing. And Carlo has his way, calm, steady hand, very Zen-like atmosphere, and has made, use of the stars he's been given, especially when he's been at the big clubs like Real. Enjoy the game. It's going to be wonderful. And football at its finest, at the very top quality. The Champions League is, they say it is the best football game played in the world, more than a World Cup, because these teams have been together for all year. So it'll be fun. I'm excited. It should be great.
All right, Matt, parting shots.
I, of course, am invested, so I can't go the whole neutral route. But, for the larger audience at play, back to what Rob was saying, two historic managers and two historic clubs. Arguably, if you throw, Rob's Bayern and AC Milan out of the equation, these are the two clubs you most associate with this trophy and with this competition. And that's special. That's special. So enjoy it. I think we really, after a couple weird sort of subpar finals, I think we have a potential classic on our hands.
I hope that we have a classic on our hands. More than anything else, I hope it ends in one of two ways. If Real Madrid win, I want to see Carlo Ancelotti surrounded by his team with a glass of Chianti and a big cigar in his hand. If it's Klopp, I want to see him with the European trophy in one hand, drinking beer out of a boot. Either way, I want to see these two managers be who we really know them to be. Carlo Ancelotti is as Italian as they come. I want him to channel his inner godfather if they win and sit there and be hoisted up on a chair while smoking a cigar and drinking a glass of red wine. Jurgen Klopp is as German as they come. Nothing would be more German to me than him sitting around hoisted on his team's shoulder while drinking half a Weizen out of a boot. The glass one, not the real one. One way or the other, I think I'm going to get what I want. But more than anything else, I want a good final. This is Europe's showpiece. This is the soccer equivalent of the Super Bowl. And we will all sit around and say, we have seen some subpar, we've seen some boring finals. We've watched some boring finals that our teams have been involved in. I want a decent game. What we need after the last 2 years of COVID and all that sort of stuff, the first Champions League final that we can get out all together, hoist a couple of pints, sing songs in mass numbers. I just want a good game. So I hope everybody gets to see a good game, and I hope everybody gets to see a great trophy presentation afterwards. I know who I'm rooting for. I'm not going to let that be too obvious, but we'll talk about it later. All right, gentlemen, it has been a lot of fun sitting and talking with you. Thank you very much. Rob with his multiple Champions League medals on. Matt wearing a Dynamo Kiev jersey, which is special in and of itself. Gentlemen, it has been fun. I want to thank you very much for participating in this appendix. Yes, it was useless. It was painful. But at one point in time, it served a purpose. We just don't know what point in time that was. I'm Mike. This has been the Too Many Soccer Guys show, UCL Final Appendix. We will check you out later. Have a great week, and we'll catch you next